Good evening and many thanks for joining us here on the Primetime Bulletin on Joy News on Multi TV. Coming up in this bulletin tonight, the state is to appeal a submission of no case verdict resulting in the acquittal of Asin North MP Kennedy Agyapong, but his lawyer says it will again amount to nothing. CHAS threatens to sue parents and guardians or school leavers who are indebted to their schools, even as it calls for a national solution to a long-standing challenge. Despite the inconsistent rainfall pattern experienced in some parts of the country, the Meteorological Agency says the trend is normal. Chieftaincy factions at Teshie hold news conference to renounce recent purported installation, even as the town gets ready to celebrate the Homowo Festival. And government hails oversubscription of Ghana's second Eurobond, but an analyst is cautioning there's more that needs to be done to fix the economy. We also have sports, showbiz and international news coming up. Now, the state has declared its intention to appeal against the discharge and acquittal of the Member of Parliament for Asin North Kennedy Agyapong of any wrongdoing over his ethnocentric remarks said to have been intended to cause a rift between Gans and Ewes. Subsequently, the Circuit Court in Accra, which on July 2, 2013 upheld a submission of no case, yesterday granted the state permission to pursue its appeal. A chief state attorney, Anthony Rexford Redu, has since filed an application on behalf of the state, praying the court to permit it to appeal its decision at the Court of Appeal. In a test ruling, the presiding judge, Ebenezer Osei Darko, granted the state permission but gave no reasons. But lawyer for the MP, Aikwe Otu, has described the move as a total waste of time but indicated they are ready to contest it.
Where after a decision, a party like the Attorney General decides to appeal, I think it is their right to appeal. My only worry is that, you see, if you look at the statutes, the appeals from criminal decisions of the circuit courts go to the high courts. Now, the law they are using and the leave that they are seeking is to enable them appeal to the Court of Appeal. And I wonder whether it makes good legal sense to appeal to a Court of Appeal whose jurisdiction it is, whose jurisdiction is limited to only civil matters emanating from the circuit courts. So just like I warned them in some cases, they started from Ajabin, came to the High Court, went to the Supreme Court, down to the Circuit Court, and I told them to be careful that they may lose all those cases. They didn't listen. So let us wait and see what will come out of this, because I'm waiting for them to file the appeal. I will quickly file a cross appeal to challenge the decision of the Court of Appeal to hear an appeal from a decision of the Circuit Court.
Now, Teshie is likely to begin its Homowo festivities with a lingering chieftaincy dispute, reignited with the recent purported installation of a new chief. With just 2 weeks to the celebrations, the three ruling royal houses of Teshie have also officially rejected the new chief. According to them, a new chief who they have been grooming for the past year will be installed after the Homowo festivities. They announced this at a news conference in the town here in Accra.
The purported installation, which sparked violence and claimed one life about a month ago, caused a lot of stir amongst residents. The three royal houses at the news conference reiterated their stance against the purported installation.
The installation of Ni Kamwa III, having been carried out by the Shikiteli alone, renders the installation invalid and of no traditional or customary effect. The said Ni Ashite Kamwa III hails from the Trebiwe, which is not one of the three ruling houses of Teshie. A non-royal, as Ni Ashite Kamwa III, cannot, I repeat, cannot ascend the Teshie stool.
They said the new legitimate chief, who all the three houses have agreed on, will be installed by the end of October.
When immediately we start our homework customs, we put chieftaincy issues aside. So after the Bubran Ayiku, then we are giving the go-ahead to bring in the chief. It will be September, October.
They, however, promise they will not yield to any provocation that will result in violence during the performing of customs and rituals preceding the Homo festival.
I stated that there are 4 kingmakers. We are working with them to use the customary means to install the properly elected and confined chief. Usually using the law courts don't help. This is a traditional matter. It is already with the Nungwa Manche, who is also working with the regional house of chiefs to remedy the situation. We are not going to use violence. We are not going to use langas.
Even though the three royal families have pledged not to yield to any provocation, there remains an existing warning from one of the factions to the disputed chief to stay away from Manjano, the town's Durbar grounds, which will be at the heart of the festivities. Hopefully, the news conference will give the security agencies enough notice to take preemptive action.
Now let's go to Winneba now. The timely response of the Winneba Fire Service averted what would have been another major fire disaster at the Winneba market. In the central region, it took personnel 1 hour to put out the fire.
The raging fire attracted scores of people and traders to the scene. Reports indicate a blackout which occurred on 3 occasions might have caused the fire. The fire started from a cosmetic metal container and spread to structures nearby. In the ensuing confusion, the police provided security as fire personnel fought the raging fire. Victims of the market fire wailed uncontrollably as wares were consumed by the fire. The fire service says a distress call around 7:30 p.m. led the firemen to the scene. Some of the traders said they had lost everything. The Winneba Police Commander, Superintendent John Opoku, and the Futu MCE Nia Frim consoled the victims.
So, despite whatever unusual weather pattern you may be experiencing in whichever part of the country you are, the Ghana Meteorological Agency says everything is just fine. There have been concerns that inconsistency in the rainfall pattern, especially in Greater Accra, may affect this year's harvest. Officials, however, insist the trend is normal, adding that other parts of the country are experiencing adequate rainfall.
Senior meteorologist Joe Patifi explains the weather pattern over the last 6 months.
June, July is our peak rainfall for both the coastal areas and then the middle belts. And that is the period in which we have a very high rainfall with high intensity and then distribution over the country. So if some areas are reporting that they are not receiving such amount of rain, then I would term it as a variability, a variation in the rainfall pattern for this year. Certain places also over the coastal and the middle areas are also experiencing very high rainfall. For example, if I take somewhere like Asuchare, which is around Akusi, for only one rainy day, they had 146 millimeters of rain. And then in Swatre, also one rainy day, they had 104 millimeters of rain. And when you even take Bandai, which is in the transition, getting to the northern region, for 4 rainy days, they have 97.8 millimeters of rain.
He indicated in the next 5 days, the zone of seasonal and monsoon wind convergence is expected to push further northwards and shift activities further to the north over the region. This, it says, should result in increased chances for moderate to heavy rainfall over the northern part of Ghana.
In Accra, for so long a time, we have a pressure system which is sitting over us. Any rainfall or any rain-bearing clouds that try to propagate over the coast will either dissipate or divert into inland or into the sea. And for about 1.5 months now, that is what is prevailing. The system develops all right, but when it gets to our coast, especially when it gets to Aplao, getting to Adantema, before Accra, then it's split into two. One goes into inland and one goes into the sea because of the pressure systems sitting over us. But for the northern part of the country, they are in their rain and they should go all out to utilize the little rain that comes to them.
He adds that the agency has received several queries from farmers around the country for rain forecasts and so will soon publish the pattern for the entire country.
The Inspector General of Police, Mohammed Ahmed Al-Hassan, has called on personnel to rally together and get rid of their colleagues who are giving the service a bad image. The IGP said this during a debate with some officers in the northern region as part of his nationwide tour.
The IGP's tour is in preparedness towards the announcement of the Supreme Court verdict after hearing the 2012 election petition. As part of the tour, he inspected equipment and vehicles of the Northern Regional Police Command at the Tamale Jubilee Park. This was to give him a fair idea of the Northern Regional Police Service's preparedness to avert any possible infractions after the judgment of the Supreme Court. In its address, the IGP said the police service was undergoing reforms to be able to deal with the varying trends of crime in the country. These needed reforms, according to the IGP, are to help provide more efficient and better quality policing to the people of Ghana. The IGP later on inspected a two-story housing project at Nyohini, a suburb of Tamale, which when completed will house 240 police personnel in the region. Barely a week ago, 350 newly recruited police personnel were posted to the northern region to boost security strength of the region.
Ghanaian Muslims across the length and breadth of the country have said special prayers for the late President Professor John Evans Atta Mills as part of activities to mark the first anniversary of his death. The National Chief Imam, Sheikh Usman Nuhu Shaributu, prayed for peace and tranquility for the nation.
Unlike the usual Friday Juma prayers, today's was loaded with an overflow of Quranic recitations. The National Chief Imam led the Juma prayers at the Abosokai Central Mosque, which was packed to full capacity. The Minister for Trade and Industry, Haruna Idrisu, in a short but lucid address to the congregants, described the late president as a tolerant gentleman who exhibited total dedication and commitment in the discharge of his duties.
One was his profound tolerance and a strong believer of religious coexistence. I recall his last time he came here when the National Chief Imam, through his representative, made a complaint about how Muslim students were being discriminated against in order that they were not allowed to practice their religions in various educational campuses, particularly Christian schools. And he accordingly said that our Muslim boys and sisters who were being discriminated against, that practice must stop.
Member of Parliament for Was Central and Minister of State at the Presidency in charge of public-private partnerships, Abdul Rashid Pelpo, also said former President Mills opened his doors to the Zongo community.
We are also praying because his memory has become a heritage for Ghanaians, and the fact that he has done well and has left for us a great heritage. We want to keep his memory alive, but we want to do it also turning to God so that his dream of making Ghana a better Ghana can come true. To remember him for his religious tolerance, his ability to transcend differences in religion, his willingness to reach out to all manner of people, Muslims, Christians, non-worshippers, and everybody. So we can remember him for who he was.
You're still watching the Primetime Bulletin here on Joy News. Still to come, Charles is threatening to sue parents and guardians or school leaders who are indebted to their schools. And government is hailing oversubscription of Ghana's Eurobond. But we'll tell you what analysts are saying about that. Please stay.
Joy News Business is brought to you in association.
Now let's do some business. Now Ghana's quest to raise $1 billion from international investors has been oversubscribed by 100%. This was after the Ghana team led by Finance Minister Seth Terkper engaged institutional investors and fund managers from San Francisco, Los Angeles and London and Frankfurt, New York and Boston. The 10-year bond had $2.2 billion worth of bids from investors. Government is planning to raise the $1 billion to clear maturing debt and undertake some infrastructure projects outlined in the 2013 budget. The country will be paying investors a yield of 8%, slightly higher than 6.5% that Nigeria secured from a similar exercise. Ghana's last bond in 2007 to raise $750 million had a yield of 8.5%. Government, however, just took $1 billion and returned the rest to the investors. Only $750 million is expected to hit the government's account in the next few days because $250 million will be used to settle the first Eurobond that is maturing. Meanwhile, government has provided more detail about some of the projects it intends to invest proceeds from Ghana's second Eurobond. The facility attracted investors who were willing to lend more than 2 times the $1 billion government was seeking. Deputy Information and Media Relations Minister Felix Kwakye told journalists at today's briefing at the Flagstaff House that government is excited at the development.
About $250 million out of it will be used to amortize parts of the $750 million Eurobond secured in 2007. Another $103 million will be used as counterpart funding for a number of projects that have already been approved for execution. Apart from that, about $284 million will be used to finance a number of projects that have already been approved in the 2013 budget. Now, in the roads sector alone, as many as 157 different projects will be financed from the Eurobond. Indeed, such roads as the Apam and Kamu Road will be reconstructed under the Eurobond. The Gosu Kukom Road will be reconstructed. The Enyinasu Road will be reconstructed. And the Fian Wahabu Road will be upgraded. And the Brekum Road will also be reconstructed. Now, a total of 157 different roads would be worked on. Also, under the health sector, as many as 37 different projects will be undertaken. There's also funding for agricultural mechanization and the provision of initial infrastructure for the 46 new districts that were created. And this is particularly of interest to government, as it would ensure massive improvements in our infrastructure and bring much needed relief to the people of this country. And so government is happy about the Eurobond.
Meanwhile, the minority in Parliament has raised concerns about the timing of the Eurobond, arguing that going to the market at a time when the country's credit rating was low, with its debt stock standing at more than 30 billion Ghana cedis, would only increase the country's debt stock faster. In a related development, the head of research at Standard Chartered Bank Africa has cautioned that the Eurobond will not be the panacea to Ghana's economic challenges. Speaking on CNBC's Power Lunch today on Joy News on Multi TV, she highlighted some of the factors that impacted on the final terms of the offer.
Well, there are a number of things at work here. Of course, we are living in a world where there are expectations of Fed tapering, and that has impacted the pricing across a wide range of assets. But that isn't, of course, the only story here. A substantial part of the pricing would have been Ghana's own fundamentals, with investor concern about Ghana's fiscal deficit, its current account deficit, having some role to play as well. For Ghana, this is still key. A lot of the pressure from the fiscal deficit isn't only coming from new spending or the pressures to continue with the recurrent spending. A lot of it is coming from the high debt service costs that Ghana has to pay domestically in order to finance its deficit. So yes, it's good news for the country from the perspective of having been able to reduce some of its cost of financing. But is this going to be enough to alleviate the pressure on the Ghana cedi? Probably not on its own.
All right, so make a date with CNBC from Monday to Friday, and this is in collaboration with your authoritative Joy News here on Multi TV. Now, President John Mahama has assured a Japanese business delegation that called on him at the Flagstaff House today an investor-friendly climate for their activities. The visit by the 35-member delegation follows a recent trip by President Mahama to that country to participate in the Tokyo International Conference on African Development. The Japanese government at the time announced a $32 billion investment plan for Africa. The Japanese ambassador to Ghana, Ambassador Nikai, who led the delegation to the presidency, told President Mahama the trip is part of efforts to push forward the discussions held at TICAD in June this year. Leader of the delegation, Haruki Hayashi, who is chairman of the Japanese-UK Chamber of Commerce, said they are in the country due to the positive economic indicators available on Ghana.
The reason why we chose the Ghana as a first destination was based on perhaps with all these data made available to us from various institutions in the world, talking about the superiority of Ghana in context of the emerging Africa. But what I saw after the TICAD 5, which I myself was involved in Yokohama, is that seeing is a believing, that we met ministries, and also we had a visit to some of the power stations and also the port authorities. So we see something match each other. Your numbers and what you're actually doing really equate each other, which gives us a confidence that we can certainly look at Ghana as a gateway to Western Africa.
President Mahama pointed out some investment avenues that may be of interest to them.
We're looking at energy and power, that is to expand energy generation through the use of independent power producers. Then Ghana has a good potential for thermal power production because of the discovery of gas offshore. So energy and power is a good place to look at. There's also renewable energy. Other projects include expansion of the ports, in order to improve the turnaround of ships that come to our two ports in Accra and Tema. Also rehabilitation of the railway lines under PPP. We're looking for a concessionaire who will join government to rehabilitate the railway lines. So the environment looks good, and so we want the Japanese private sector to take a good look at the investment situation in Ghana and join us in a win-win situation.
Ambassador Nikai announced the arrival of an appraisal team from Japan, after which the Lower Volta projects will begin. It will be the first project to be executed under the reinstated yen loan portfolio, which was withdrawn after Ghana decided to go HIPC some years ago. And we'll stay at the presidency a little while longer. President Mahama has charged the new Bank of Ghana board to challenge its frontline staff to think outside the box on how the country's interest rate could be significantly reduced. Addressing the 12-member board chaired by Central Bank Governor Dr. Kofi Wampa at their swearing-in today, the president asked them to also work at ways to quickly improve economic conditions in the country. A new deputy governor was also sworn in. The new Deputy Governor, Dr. Abdul Nasiru Isahaku, took the oaths of office, secrecy and allegiance. He comes to his new position with experience from the World Bank and EDF, among others. The other members of the board include Deputy Finance Minister Kesil Heford as the representative of the ministry. Vice President Kwesi Emisa Arthur, a former governor himself, implored the new members to handle their positions with the necessary diligence and tap from the experience and expertise of staff at the central bank. He expressed satisfaction with the performance of the country's second Eurobond.
In that bank, people stay a long time. Everybody you meet have stayed 30 years, 35 years sometimes in the bank. Over the many years, in that single structure, they've all stayed there, they've become friends, and they know what they think, and they act together. But an external person going there forces them to think through some of the things they've done, some of the assumptions that they've made, and so on. The popular thing now in this country is about yesterday's Eurobond and the fact that we've done much better than the original Eurobond of 2007. But we still are looking for ways in which we can minimize the interest rate of government borrowing. We need to work to bring the rate down and to make sure that the business sector also benefits from the growth that has taken place in this economy.
President John Mahama shared his impressions about the close collaboration between the Finance Ministry and the Bank of Ghana.
We respect the autonomy and independence of the central bank in terms of, conducting its monetary policy. But at the same time, I'm very happy with the level of collaboration that I'm seeing between the bank and the Ministry of Finance to try and stabilize the macroeconomic environment. I urge you as the board to work with the governor to be able to make sure that we stabilize the macro, as the Vice President said, to bring interest rates down and bring inflation rate down so that we continue to have a conducive environment for business to flourish. With regards to the new Deputy Governor, I have no doubt that he brings to the bank a wealth of experience.
That's it for business. Market data is up next.
Was brought to you in association.
You're welcome back. Now, the Conference of Heads of Assisted Senior High Schools, CHAS, is asking parents to pay up unpaid school fees of their wards or face prosecution. CHAS is worried the huge debts left behind by students who recently completed senior high school could cripple the schools and is asking for a national mechanism to bring to book parents who default in payment. Abigail Admako Enchi has more.
The inability of some parents to pay their wards fees before they complete their secondary education continues to trouble the finances of senior high schools in the country. For instance, the Accra Academy from 2002 to 2012 has school fees arrears of over 92,000 cedis per their audit report for last year. Arrears of students who wrote the recent WASI is also about 22,000 cedis. The trend is replicated in all the 600 senior high schools across the country, of which the debt of 10 schools is over 332,000 cedis. school heads are unhappy about the situation.
And this is virtually affecting our performance as school administrators. Because if I need, say, 100 cedis to perform a task, and at the end of it all, I'm able to mobilize 50 cedis, it stands to reason that I will not be able to perform to the equivalent of the 100 cedis. I'll be able to perform to the equivalent of, say, 50 cedis. So we've realized that if we do not bring the general public's notice to these things happening in our schools, we will lose at the end, either by not providing the type of quality education that we want to provide to our students.
An attempt to prevent final year students from writing the WASSCE to encourage parents to pay fees was quashed by the GES as they said it contravened the rights of the students. School heads agree but say retrieving fees remains difficult as students after completion hardly return to the schools for their results because they can access them on the internet. The only way out for them is for some punitive measures to be leveled against parents who refuse to pay.
It is not the child who pays fees. It is the parent. So you see, that is where sometimes as parents ourselves, when you have a ward or a student who comes to you weeping that, sir, my parents have not come to pay my fees, would you want to exact, do I call it the punishment? You visit the punishment on the child who is not supposed to pay the fees? So we're also thinking if there will be, it will be in line with the policies and the directives of the nation, why don't we come out with a position that if parents do not pay their fees, we should have a mechanism in place to bring these people to book.
Meanwhile, the GES says they are working out ways to collect the fees, but maintains CHAS do not have the mandate to prosecute parents.
We are fully appreciative of the problems of the membership of CHAS, and yet we also have to be objective to say that as an association within the Ghana Education Service, they don't have the locus to go to court and collect these monies from parents. The contract was made with the Ghana Education Service as their employers, and therefore we will find ingenious ways of helping them to collect the fees.
For the GES, though the subsidies for the schools have delayed as a result of government's fiscal challenges, schools will not be financially handicapped if parents duly settle the fees of the awards. Reporting for Joy News, Abigail Adomakwenchi.
All right, so let's tell you what's happening on our Facebook page. Our hot issue today is what CHAS is talking about. Now, they are lamenting a huge bill worth hundreds of thousands of Ghana cedis left behind by recent school leavers because of a GES policy that forbids barring candidates from writing final exams for owing school fees. Now, apart from threatening to prosecute parents, they are calling for a national solution to the challenge. So, how do you suggest we resolve this? And you brought in some comments. We'll read them later. But for now, let's take this quickly and then we'll come back to our Facebook page. So we're waiting for your comments as and when they come, we'll read them out to you. But traders affected in last Wednesday market's fire at the pedestrian shopping mall near the Kwame Nkrumah Circle have protested a decision by the Accra Metropolitan Assembly to refuse them access to the place. The AMA has cordoned off the section of the market where fire destroyed over 20 stores, citing security reasons.
Nancy, ya de rubber besel, Ashedra. Or much a young to Basia, more young Himu, a boat to a beer, a boat to a young somebody near, up by inside. I have a bubble, honing in a Yurama, no crowd, what do I need for her? Now, Yacho de Wacosikam, Sadetina, O Corre, O do I need for her. I don't see any marsh. That's who said there was here. ne ho de
adwuma no eskasam aban sika wo mu ejilo edi era business mu yeso mo agi shop ho ahia yeso po no anhyi yeso mo gi ho hia no yesi no se bebi ahye nyina omo de eka ho se me bisa aban se ya ye shop na ahye no omo gi ka bebi ahye ho no se omo ba ka bebi ahye no a ya ye shop na ahye omo kai ya aka ho ana ya omo gi eka ho no omo besire
Clearly, these are some unhappy traders at the Hawkers Mall. They are unhappy because the Accra Metropolitan Assembly has cordoned off the area where fire gutted their wares 2 days ago, thus refusing them entry to the place. But the visibly angry traders will hear none of it. According to some of them, they still had some items that were not destroyed in the fire and wanted to sell them to make money.
And my concern was, if the market has been burnt and the police and the AMA was able to secure or to prevent the items, fine, they've done their part, they've done well. We give them thanks a lot. But my concern is, it's a question that I'm going to ask. If you are the first child and maybe you lost your mother and your father get lost, won't they come and call you to go and see at the dead party before they bury your father? So if that was the case and your items have been burned, why don't they allow the owners of the items to go and see to their items whether their items were safe or not? They refuse to do so.
All bank, all loan givers, supporters, all this fire is too much for us. Fire here, fire not, fire west is too much. We need help. We need help. They should help us.
So, contrary to reports of a massive fire outbreak at the Ring Road Central branch of Barclays Bank, our checks have confirmed that the effect of the fire was very minimal. Only one air conditioner was damaged, and bank officials say they were open for normal business on Monday. At the time the news team got to the scene, the fire had already been put out by the fire service. Contrary to wild reports of a massive fire, less property was damaged. Though the cause of the fire is not immediately known, the Public Relations Officer of the Ghana National Fire Service, Billy Anaglate, refused to speak with us. However, Deputy Accra Regional Police Commander Timothy Yosabonga, in an interview with Joy News, says the police will be around to ensure absolute security of the premises. Addressing the media, the head of cooperation for the bank, Mr. Shola Safal Diodo, said the bank's security officers are working with the fire service and the police to establish the cause of the fire. She was emphatic that nothing will stop the branch from opening to normal business. Up next is international news.
International news is brought to you in association with
Global Lighting Center, your solution to quality lighting.
Tens of thousands of supporters and opponents of Egypt's ousted Islamist leader Mohamed Morsi are attending rival rallies with 2 people killed in clashes. The supporters of the deposed head of state filled streets in Cairo to condemn his removal from the army, while
Sports is brought to you in association.
Time for the very latest in the world of sports. Now, 2013 MTN FA Cup winners Midiama SC have received the 50,000 cedis Ghana promised them by sponsors MTN as seed money for their participation in next season's CAF Confederations Cup. The presentation was done at the MTN corporate office in Accra in the presence of Chief Executive Officer Michael Ipoki after a short tour with the trophy this morning. Executive Vice President of the club Albert Kome spoke to Joy Sports after the event.
Well, we see it as a bigger challenge for us because we've been able to win it. What is most important is to make sure that at least we participate in the African Championship, because we are not oblivious of the fact that the 2 winners did not go far. The first even did not participate at all. For us to do justice to the product, we've decided that we are taking a giant step by venturing into the Confederation Cup. As I announced earlier, not just to be mere participants, but to make sure that at least we target a trophy. What it means is that we Medeama, anytime we set eyes on the trophy, we go for it. And we, with God on our side, we should be able to do something good for Ghana. I would not say much because the main architects are the playing body and the technical team. And we are in the process of putting things together, depending upon the pre-season that we have.
European clubs continue to trim their rough edges during the preseason, with more games going down. Manchester United failed to record a second win after the draw 2-2 weekend.
Sports was brought to you in association with
Showbiz, showbiz, showbiz. Now, celebrities are known for doing all manner of things, some even bizarre, in a bid to get public attention. Some Hollywood actors have even been arrested a few times for shoplifting, and recently, a few Ghanaian celebrities too. So, when Showbiz caught up with Emilia Brobe this morning, we asked her if reports about her shoplifting in the United Kingdom was just a PR stunt.
No. I don't think it's a media hype. I think it's misinterpretation. That is all I would say. For what I've gone through, I will leave the rest of my story to God. I went to Pearson's shop around Enfield. I mean, I have a pram or a buggy that I put my baby in, then I'll be pushing around. So whatever I want to buy, I pick it and I put it on the buggy. So, I mean, after shopping, I paid with my stuff and receipts and I was going. So when I was leaving the shop, the alarm blew and then the security guy came that, I think there's something with you that belongs to us. And I said, oh. And he said I should come over with him. I went with him, another colleague came. Then on the pram, there are 2 holes, like bottle holders, feeding bottle holders or any drink. That was where the bracelet was. The bracelet was worth £10. So he asked me, this is what we're talking about. Do you intend buying it? And I said, oh, yes. Did you forget or you intention? And I said, oh, I've bought so many things. I mean, I didn't see it. I want it. That's why I picked it. I wasn't deported to Ghana. They didn't accuse me of stealing. So I don't know where all this Emilia stole is coming from.
She appears very emotional there. Now, versatile musician Kwame Nsia-Apao, better known as Ochame Kwame, has embarked on an awareness and sensitization campaign on hepatitis B to draw attention to the deadly disease.
To create awareness about the disease.
Hepatitis B is a disease caused by a hepatitis B virus and is transmitted mainly through sex and exchange of body fluids. WHO says that 1 out of every 6 Ghanaians is exposed to the virus. But the good thing is that it is preventable. Because of this, Ochame Kwame and MDS Lancet Laboratory and so many companies have decided to go out there and give out the screening for free.
Ochame and his team paid a visit to children suffering from hepatitis at the Ridge Hospital in Accra and presented them with some items for their upkeep. On Saturday, July 27, he is...
Have your comments on our social media, but we'll bring them to you. Before that, news just reaching us indicates that NDC youth in the Salaga district of the northern region are said to be protesting the choice of DCE for the area. According to them, the said Mohammed Lukman Amin is not a true member of the party and wasn't among 3 nominees shortlisted. The youth who have gone on rampage vandalizing state property in the district say they want the appointee replaced. We'll bring you updates in our subsequent bulletins. But this is what you are saying about what we told you today on our Facebook page. That Charles is lamenting a huge bill worth hundreds of thousands of Ghana cedis that have been left by recent school leavers. So let me quickly read some of your comments coming in. Baba Musa Tamale says, apart from Charles threatening to prosecute parents who do not pay fully their award school fees before their completion, government should ensure that WAEC stops publishing the result of candidates online. That is the way defaulting parents can be compelled to pay. Andrew Plank Shine says, it's quite pathetic this is happening. Actually, both GES and Charles need to meet and talk about this delicate matter. It must be settled peacefully. Seidu Anas says Charles should exercise patience. Things are hard. I believe parents will try and settle their bills soon. Newton Jaffe says, I think their result slip should be seized by the school authorities and WAEC must help in doing that. Mario says, I strongly believe it will serve Charles good if awaiting forms bought by yet to complete students should be abolished. So these are some of the comments that you put on our Facebook wall. Keep them coming. We'll surely be reading them. But that's it for tonight's bulletin. Our top stories. The state is to appeal a submission of no case verdict resulting in the acquittal of Asin North MP Kennedy Agyapong. But his lawyers say it will again amount to nothing. President Mahama has sworn in a new board for the Bank of Ghana with a charge to them to think up new ways to drive down interest rate. Government hails over subscription of Ghana's second Eurobond, but an analyst is cautioning there's more that needs to be done to fix the economy. Chieftaincy factions at Teshi hold news conference to renounce recent purported installation, even as the town gets ready to celebrate their Homowo festival. Despite the inconsistent rainfall pattern experienced in some parts of the country, the Meteorological Agency says the trend is normal. My name is Gifty Ando Apia. A very good evening to you.